All right, hey guys, it's Daryl
And Erin
on Travel with D&E. So we're on day 5 of our 11-day Panama Canal Cruise on NCL. Today we have a lot. We had a really long day. Had a lot to see and do. And so this is day 5 of our 11-day Panama Canal Cruise on NCL.
Where'd we go today?
Yeah, we went to Cartagena, Colombia. And this was our second stop. We also stopped at Grand Cayman Island, and you can see that on the video number 3, or on the day 3. And then so yesterday we had a sea day, and today we're visiting Cartagena, Colombia. And man, I'm gonna tell you, it was a fantastic trip, fantastic excursion into the old town, seeing the old wall in the old town. Again, very, very cool sight. All right, so just real quick to kind of start the day off, what do we have before we went on our excursion here?
Well, we got up bright and early. We went ahead and went to our favorite place to grab things, to Garden Cafe at 6:30 in the morning to get our day started.
And we, as usual, you kind of report to, in this case, Stardust Theater. What they want you to report there, and they call out your ticket number for an excursion, and then they have you go down to the deck 4, and that's where you exit the ship.
Yep. So they called our number. We headed down to deck 4, met our group, and got our bus number where we were going, and we met the tour guide and the tour that we were going on.
This particular port's a little bit different. So like with Grand Cayman, we had to take the tender. In this case, we actually docked, at a dock at the port, and then we're able to exit via gangway out onto the dock. And then what you do is, like I said, when we are at that 7:15 meeting at the Stardust, we have a bus number, and they give us a little sticker so we know which bus to load.
And we were bus number 2, and we went with Elkins. And Elkin was the man.
He actually was a very good tour guide. He talked about, he said, this isn't just the Elkins tour, this is the Elkins VIP tour.
We were his VIPs.
And to be honest, and you had Raul, who was driving the bus. They did an excellent job. Just can't really say anything more about them. They did a really good job in leading us. Now, as we left, or attempted to leave the port in our bus, we basically got to the first intersection and sat there for close to 30 minutes. And as Elkins explained, Cartegena has a pretty bad traffic problem, and we don't know if there was a wreck or what, but
he did say there was a stalled car in one of the lanes, but that didn't matter. They do have quite bad traffic. So one of the transportation workers and police did notify Elkin and the bus driver that there was a stalled vehicle, but that delayed us more than normal. But there is bad traffic in Cartagena.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But anyhow, so we got finally through that first intersection. And the police and the transportation workers were trying to, there was construction around there too. They were trying to help get all the buses out onto the main, drag there to get to the excursion. So we finally got out after about 30 minutes. And so at about 9:30, we arrived at the San Felipe de Barajas fort. And what do you think of the fort there?
It was great. It was massive. It was bigger than I thought. You see things on the internet and you do your research, but when we drove up, it was quite big. In fact, they say it's the largest fort built by the Spanish during their colonization area. So it was a great big sight.
It was huge. One of those great feats of engineering. And the fort was actually originally built in 1536, the initial construction. Between 1639 and 1657, they expanded it even more. So, and understand that this Cartagena city, at least the old city, this is on a bay within the Gulf of the Caribbean, waters, Atlantic waters there. And so they had cannons lined up in multiple directions. That was part of the method, or part of the reason for having the old wall as well. So that's why the fort was there. And one thing that was pretty cool, they talked about these holes that the Spanish had built during the construction.
In the concrete walls.
Yeah, in the concrete walls to kind of help with stress. And it was very hot in this area, so heat stress kind of thing from the concrete over time. They put these holes in, so what was kind of neat about them is, all right, so we had these holes in the concrete, and they basically are in use today by
pigeons. They're called pigeon condos.
Yeah, so in just about every one of these holes, if there was enough hole, if it wasn't filled in with dirt or concrete or whatever, there was pigeons basically living in them, so they nested all up in these. So as you kind of walk around the fort, in a hole, you'd see a little pigeon stick his head out, and he may go and fly off, and they come back in. So it was just kind of funny seeing all that.
So we did a great walking tour through there. We went in one of the tunnels. We saw some of the lookout towers that we were able to take a picture in, and found a particular character.
Yeah, so they had this guy that was dressed up in kind of the Spanish era costume and a uniform basically. And his instead of a rifle, he basically had a trumpet. And he was actually pretty good. So his little stick there was he was up there about the second level or something on the fort, knowing that people would walk by these different tour groups. And as you walk by, he'd ask you, "Hey, are you, where are you from?" So we'd say, "Oh, we're from Texas or Louisiana or
that's Cathedral.
wherever." And he'd start playing Star Spangled Banner or something like that. Then he, somebody said, "Well, I'm from Canada." He played the Canadian national anthem. I mean, so this guy, this is what he does to make money. And so, at one point,
Elkin said he's been there.
Elkin said he's been there as long as he knows,
Yes.
and he's there every day.
Yes.
And he was there just to try to make some money. So then the way that would work with, if you want to go take a quick picture with him, all you gotta do is give him a $2 tip, and he'd be happy.
Yes.
And that's his only method of making money. So we went higher up and came back down, and went ahead and let Erin take a picture with him, and just fun. And that way we gave him a tip, and he was happy, and we got a cool picture.
Absolutely. So there were characters, and he was the only character there at the fortress, but there are vendors everywhere. The minute you get off the bus, if you don't have a hat on, there, my lady, hat, there were vendors of every kind that you can think of. So you say no gracias, and very politely. Most of them were very accepting of that. Some of them pushed a little harder, but that was surprising. So they were mostly outside the gate. There were a few ladies who weren't pushy, but they had their wares as far as jewelry and things like that, just at the beginning, the very beginning of the ramp heading up.
Yeah, so they were up on the ramp a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know why they got that deal versus everybody on the street, but
Yeah.
again, they're going to push, and if they kind of sense a weakness, they're going to push again. But again, if you're just very polite, no gracias, then 99 times out of 100, they're just going to go turn their head, because they want to try somewhere else, somebody else who wants to buy something. So
Yes.
so it was not a bad experience, let's put it that way.
Right.
But just recognize that when you're in Cartagena and in many other excursion sites you go to, in different cities, different countries, that's a typical thing, and all you do is just be polite. But be careful. There's different. Like if I would have had Erin go and if I would have taken a picture of the guy in the uniform, and we did not tip him, then he would not be very happy, right? So again, that's his only way to make money. So you just got to be kind of careful what you do. And later on, as we're going through the tour,
Stop.
I mean, there were different cases. A guy that was kind of like a
Rapper.
Oh, there's a rapper. So if you get there and he starts rapping for you, he's going to expect to get some money. There was a Panama guy, so he came and stood by me, and I don't know, I don't remember how my stance was or something, and
he mimed you everything you did.
He mimed everything I did. I just turned no, gracias. I had to tell him 4 times. Finally, he got the point. And he went over and tried to hustle on somebody else. Again, not a bad experience. You may have to say it more than once, but just recognize that's going to be there.
But if you're willing to participate, that's all right too.
Absolutely.
The ladies there, dressed up and stuff, but it's your choice. So sometimes it's fun to play along with them and give them a tip, and sometimes you just opt not to.
And again, recognizing that's maybe the only way they can make money. And in the case with Colombia, they did not have a welfare system according to Elkins. And so if they did not work, they did not make money, right?
Yes.
So understand why they're trying to do that, and it's their only way to make some money. So if you want to do it, the person seems like seems to be a good person, you want to follow along with it, by all means, like we did with the guy with the trumpet.
Yes.
So just something to think about.
Yep.
So we boarded back on the bus after we left the fort, and we started headed for the old city, the old walled city. Okay, so we drove around. It wasn't too far away. There was one area there that he said used to be a bull rink, and a building's there now, but they've outlawed bullfighting, I believe, now. So there was no need for it anymore. It was a historical site, but I think they plowed over it and put a building. And so we kept going along, and so we got to the Barrio del Centro. And just one thing, as we're heading toward the old walled city, that is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And that's just a recognition that there is some cool historical stuff there. And so let's go ahead and head that direction.
Yeah. So our next step was the Los Bovedas Artisans Center. Okay, so we headed into the old walled city, and our first stop was the Los Bovedas Artisans Center.
And it basically, I think it was an old munitions storage site. And so they had, tunnel's not the right word, but it was a curved rooms that they had. Some of them were square, but some of them were still that rounded, which is where they used to store ammo. Big concrete structure. And there was like each tunnel was a different store, right? A different center. So go ahead.
Yeah, and it was handcrafted wares. There was jewelry. I believe he said, was it the emerald? Was the jewel? If you bought the and I believe it was the emerald, you got the certificate with the number on it and everything. So they had a little bit of everything that you wanted to buy.
Yeah, I mean, this was really, to me, it was less than an artisan center, and it was more of a souvenir center. There was some stuff handcrafted and some jewelry, but there was also a lot of just knickknacks, magnets, refrigerator magnets, that kind of stuff. Sort of some cheap stuff.
Yeah, they had the fruit. They had the ladies in the Caribbean, very bright.
Kind of Jamaican looking,
the headdress and the costume with all the different fruit.
And the headdress had the fruit stacked on top of it?
Yes.
Yep.
So they had a variety of things, like you said, souvenirs, fruit, artisans making homemade stuff. But Daryl, what was the one thing that the gentlemen were pushing?
Man, they were pushing Cuban cigars. They would, and it wasn't just cigars. There was leather belts. There was hats. There was, so outside of the shops, they were again trying to sell stuff. Guy would walk up every second you walk by, Cuban cigars.
I mean, they were in the beautiful boxes.
Yeah, they look great, but I don't really smoke cigars. And number two, I don't think you can bring Cuban cigars into the U.S. But I'm not 100% sure on that. But nevertheless, I don't smoke cigars, so it wasn't worth it. But I mean, it was, again, no gracias. Just thank them, be polite, and they'll get the point and leave you alone usually. All right, so we finished our little shopping trip there and hopped on the bus and made a short ride over to the Barrio del Centro, and got out and looked at a couple of historical buildings. Didn't spend a lot of time there. This is where you first kind of looked down. You were able to look down the lane, or the road, down the street, and it was really only big enough for one vehicle. So it was a one-way. And all these houses here have balconies, and kind of ornate balconies. It was really kind of cool looking. And again, not a big street, houses lined on both sides, and pretty cool looking architecture in the houses.
Yep. And then our next up is the Naval Museum.
The Museo Naval del Carib Navy Museum. Sorry, that's the real name of it, but it was their naval museum.
Yeah, it was really neat to go to. There's a lot of history there, a lot of artifacts, a lot of things to read over. But of course, most everything was in Spanish, so we did film a lot and enjoyed the tour through there.
They did have cannons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they had a replica built kind of a Spanish galleon, I guess, and you're able to kind of walk on it, but it's not a full length. But it was kind of cool. You got to go up and just kind of see what where a mast would be and where they would operate the ship, so to speak, and it was kind of a neat little thing. As we went through the museum, then the final stop was in the building there, but they had a folkloric show to put on for us. It was kind of funny. They offered free water and a free Coke and a soda, right? I don't know what the kind of brand it was, but they also had an apple soda, which I tried. It was interesting. I've never had an apple soda before.
Well, but then your apple soda was pink.
Yes, it was.
So that was interesting.
Nevertheless, getting on. So there was a number of 3 or 4 men and women who were in traditional dress. The men were playing instruments, traditional instruments, and playing songs, and the girls came out and danced, and they switched around, and some of the guys came out with the girls and danced. Anyhow, it was a cool little show. Kept us entertained, and it was again kind of folkloric and talking about the past days. But it was fun.
Yep. And then so our next step was the Cathedral of St. Catherine of Alexandria.
Or typically referred to as the Cathedral of Cartagena.
And it was built between 1577 and 1612. It was beautiful, and took up a large area of the area.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big building, pretty inside. Was able to get some footage. You don't want to. It was kind of open, so the back doors and the side doors, they were all open. People were kind of mulling here and there. There was people in there, kneeling down, and you didn't want to kind of go in there and make a lot of noise. So I slipped in real quick, little video, and we'll show it right here. And it was pretty church. Nevertheless, so moved on. We kind of came to the San Pedro Claver sanctuary, and who was this guy, a priest who?
He was the patron saint of the human rights. So
right.
They brought in a lot of African slaves into the area, and he during the day and night he would go into the area and teach Christianity.
Yeah, so San Pedro Claver, he would sit out in the courtyard at night, and it kind of went about getting them a new name and different kinds of things to help them assimilate into the society as much as they could.
Our next step was the Plaza de Bolivar, who was named after Simon Bolivar, who helped the native Colombians throw off the Spanish rule in 1819.
And next up we went to the Inquisition Palace Museum. And so I didn't even realize we were going to this location. And didn't realize this is where Torquemada, from history, if you've ever heard of anything that Torquemada did, in the Inquisition, the Spanish, through Torquemada, would basically decide to end the life of people who were not following the Christian faith or the Catholic faith. Yeah, the example that Elkins gave was, let's say you had somebody who didn't like somebody else, or they made them mad. You could write a piece of paper and say this person at this address did this, and drop that note through the door, whatever the case may be. Torquemada would read these, and if he decided just on a whim, if that person should be brought in or not. They would go get that person. They would send a crew out to go get that person, bring him back to this place, and basically they would go through the process. There was 5 questions that they were asked, and trying to figure out maybe if they were insane or crazy or whatever the case may be. Probably the answer to all 5 of those really didn't matter, because the next step was torture. And then within this museum, they had a couple of torture devices. And you can really almost look at this as similar to the genocide, the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. A lot of people who didn't deserve to die were killed. So it's really kind of a sad day in our history. But again, like Erin said, we got to learn from it, make sure it never happens again. So it's important to have this kind of museum, or this type of information available, so everybody can understand that this actually did occur, and it's important to know.
So we walked through the streets to get to the next stop, and beautiful buildings, balconies everywhere, the architecture, I believe. I mean, it was
really neat.
It's really neat. So we really enjoyed that part of it too.
And again, part of that architecture was the balconies, just all over the place. Many of them had flowers and different things going. Some of them had different painting or colors. Like in a lot of Caribbean sites, all the colors, the different colors are just beautiful. And it's kind of a trademark of Cartagena and the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of paintings, we got to meet Picasso of Cartagena.
Yeah, so this guy, little guy, he was sitting down on a bucket, but he had laid out in front of him these little, 4x6 or 4x8 mirrors. They're actually mirrors that he paints using his hand, the side of his hand, and then fingers. And he literally, so we watched him do this. So he has paint kind of laid out on a canvas, and he grabs a little bit off his finger. All right, so we're going to put some red. What the hell is red?
Rojo.
Yeah. All right, so, let's put some rojo here. Let's put some blue here. I don't know, dates or colors, but put some black here. And he actually made an arch with it. And next thing we know, he gets the side of his hand and starts doing that. And then adds a little bit more like an orange. Boom. So now you got, got the sun in the background, you got the about halfway down, you got the Caribbean waters, then it gets a little white and smears that in, and bam, you got waves. It was really cool. So we watched him do this. Then he was able to take, I don't know what he used, like a toothpick or something, and make the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and I don't remember the third. You remember any third one? And anyhow, so he did this in 2 minutes, or less than 2 minutes. We were timing him. And it was the most beautiful thing you could ever see. And we bought that one from him. And another one that had basically showed some of that great architecture again, kind of looking down a street and all the balconies and stuff. And like I said, he did this in 2 minutes in front of us. Incredible. Wish we could show it, but it's all wrapped up. Taped together so we can ship it back with us when we go. Yeah, and he doesn't like being called Picasso of Cartagena. Alberto kind of is what he said his name was, but if you get to go to Cartagena, this guy, you need to check out his work. Watch him do this. It's pretty incredible, and that kind of made the trip to some extent. We really enjoyed it.
Yes, we did. So that was basically our tour. Elkins did a great job. He was very informative. He's from there. He was very proud of the area, you could tell, and he spoke from his heart and letting us know all the information. So we felt it, and we really enjoyed it. And we were his VIPs. Yeah,
we enjoyed the tour tremendously. And Cartagena is a great place to go and visit.
Absolutely.
All right, so we did head back for the dock at this point, but before you actually get to the dock, you have the opportunity to walk through an aviary that had a variety of birds. It was really cool. What did we see there first as we walked in?
Oh my goodness! The first thing that greeted us was an anteater.
And this thing's huge. I had no idea. Anteater's as big a size as he is, and he's probably got a 4-foot tail, and about a 1 to 2 foot, I don't know, a 1 foot snout to dig down for those ants. He was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Then we walked into the rest of the aviary, and they had the most incredible mix of macaws.
Yes, they did.
I mean, any color, red, blue, green, and just a combination of all of those. Various places throughout. There was flamingos and a couple of exhibits, different things.
So the guinea fowls.
Guinea fowls, yeah, there were a bunch of them all over.
Some the peacocks.
There were beautiful peacocks all over.
The colorful ones, and then there was an all white.
Yeah, I hadn't ever
that was
seen a
beautiful.
albino one. That was pretty cool.
Very nice.
And so they had, in one particular area, they had a bunch of macaws that were out on a, I guess a frame, just set up so they could stay there. And so we kind of walked up and noticed a macaw was on the somebody's arm. And I said, man, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it, And so asked the guy, and he said, oh no, there's $2 for some sunflower seeds over at the little shop there. And I said, okay, man, appreciate it. And he said, here, let me give you a handful. And he gave me 5 or 6. I said, no, that's plenty, man. And so Erin walked over, and you basically hold your arm out, and you got some sunflower seeds there. He's gonna jump on. Then you're gonna need to give him them sunflower seeds. So he ate those. I think we gave him 3, and I think we had 5 in total. Gave him 3, and then I got him off of Erin's arm with my 2, and so he ate those. Then he kind of was like, all right, where's the rest of it, So he ended up like climbing. He started, I thought he was biting me, but they used their beak to grab on the stuff to pull themselves up. So he ended up getting on my head. I got a big old macaw on my head, and I'm trying to get over and put him on the structure there so he could get off my head. But it was a fun experience, something you just never have had before. Those are beautiful macaws.
Absolutely. So after all that kind of fun, by that time it was about 1:10.
Something like that, 1:10, 1:15.
Okay, so by this time it was about 1:10, so we decided to go ahead and head to the boat. There was a shuttle that would take you to the boat, or it was
from the aviary, just kind of,
But we decided to go ahead and
get our steps in
and walk it. So we headed on over there, and let me tell you, the NCL crew. We just can't say how fabulous they are. We're greeted with ice cold water, and more importantly, ice cold refreshing towels.
They got those ice cold. I don't know if it has. I forgot what that stuff you can put in it. But these are just freezing cold. And when you're coming back from a long excursion, man, there ain't nothing like it. What's also pretty cool too about it is, so every time we've left and come back to the ship, one of the leaders of either the general manager of the cruise or like the food and beverage manager, we were introduced to those two, and we actually talked about them, so we know who they are. They are there with the rest of the team, waiting for us to come aboard. It's really kind of refreshing to see that kind of leadership, so if they're there doing their thing, I know all the guys are there, all the staff is there doing their thing too, and it's just kind of refreshing again to see the leadership there talking with the other team members, and also, like I said, talking with us. We had a couple conversations with the general manager, and he was just walking around the ship. Yeah, so it's actually pretty refreshing.
Yep. So we checked back in on the boat, dropped our things off in our cabin, and headed up to Arcade Garden to eat lunch, but it was closed.
Yeah, so our tip number 1 of this video is don't assume all restaurants and bars are open. If you're out on excursions and the time is kind of getting close to when you got to get back on the boat, a lot of people are going to be trying to go eat at the only restaurant that's open. So just the tip is understand that this place may be crowded, and you may have to wait a minute or wait for a table, that kind of thing. But all in all, not too inconvenient, but just a little tip there to help you know what's got to be done and what to expect.
Yeah. So a little bit before 2, we did depart from Cartagena, and we started heading to Panama.
All right, so about 3 o'clock, we headed over to the Stardust Lounge, and where they had an informational lecture by one of their staff, just giving us all the background and history on the Panama Canal, and even some hints about what to expect, going on the Panama Canal, any of the excursions and things like that. So it was pretty good information.
Yeah. So we took some time to walk the boat, get a drink, and see the sights as we were cruising along. And about 6:30, we headed over to Magnum's Champagne Bar, and we've been hearing her play. Her name is Tanya, and she plays acoustical. Is that?
She plays acoustic guitar. Yeah, that's correct. And just some, she sings by herself. Very good voice. Again, the talent here, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So any of these musicians, man, so far, any of the talent, and we've sat and we've heard her a couple times now,
Mm-hmm.
and just very good.
We really enjoyed her. And then after that, we at about 8 o'clock, they had a quiz game show in the Spinnaker, so we headed over there.
And I'd say it was more like a Jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
Although you didn't have to say the question, what is the answer? So give me 500 for science or whatever the topic would be. So it was kind of cool. And they had their buzzers, and they had to pop it. And the first one to answer correctly got points, and the rest of the people who answered wrong had negative points. So it was interesting, fun to play, or fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we stayed in the Spinnaker Lounge, which has kind of become a place we really like to be. Some good stuff happens there. And within there was the Latin vibes with Vamos a Gozar. And I don't really know where they were from Colombia. And they played some Latin music, man. It was great. You can't help but really, really enjoy that kind of upbeat music. And it makes you want to dance a little bit, right? Even for me, it makes me want to dance a little bit. So it was pretty good. We watched them for a while.
Mm-hmm. And after that, we stayed in the Spinnaker about 9:30 to about 10. All right, so following the great Latin musicians, we stayed in the Spinnaker from about 9:30 to 10 after having some great beverages. They actually had Michael Jackson's Thriller. You could learn the dance, so we had a dance class and learned how to dance Thriller.
Yeah, so one of the staff,
Entertainment staff.
Yeah, one of the entertainment staff, he kind of led us through. You had to do all these different kind of moves, and it was kind of silly but fun. Nevertheless, he got all of us up there doing the Thriller dance.
We kind of hung around the back.
Yeah, we were in the back.
We participated.
But it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we were having a good time by that point.
Mm-hmm.
Then at 10 o'clock, man, we had a blast. It was the 80s party with DJ Tino.
Mm-hmm.
So DJ Tino was playing all kind of good 80s music.
80s.
And man, we had that dance floor packed. Again, we enjoyed getting out and dancing to some old 80s music, and just basically had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
So
my tip is, I had, prior to our cruise, I'd watched some YouTube videos, and I wasn't quite sure. Some of the videos show people dressing up in the 80s, costumes, different things, but you don't have to dress up 80s. We had been there for most of the night, so everybody was there in regular clothes. So if you're wondering, you're more than welcome to dress up 80s. I think, what did I had?
You got me an MTV, shirt.
So the original MTV back in the early 80s had the astronaut on the moon with the MTV flag. So I had bought Daryl that t-shirt, and then I had gone out all 80s. I had a pink tutu, the pink shirt with the fluorescent green lips.
Thank God we didn't have to wear all that. Again, we were in the Spinnaker for a couple hours prior, and it wasn't really any. There was maybe a couple of people that was dressed in a little bit 80s, but
yeah, but not particularly.
Nothing to worry about. Come in your
Right.
street clothes,
Right.
in your shorts and a shirt, and have fun.
Have fun. Yep, it's not required.
Absolutely not.
Yep. By that time, it was at 11 o'clock. We had a full but fun day. And
Yep.
our excursion for the next day, as we were saying, we were going into Panama. And our excursion was going through the Panama Canal. And that was going to start early. Our ship arrived very early, right at the Panama Canal. And I believe about 5 a.m. we were going to wake up not to miss the sunrise and starting to go through the lock at the Panama Canal. So we needed some rest.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to tomorrow's excursion, where we're going to go through Panama. We'll go through the first set of locks to get to Gatun Lake in the cruise boat, in the Gem. And the Gem is going to basically anchor out there. And what we understand is they're actually going to use a couple of their lifeboats and to ferry us from the cruise boat over to the Gatun Yacht Club, I believe it was, is what it's supposed to be. And then we're supposed to take a bus to a ferry in Gamboa, Panama. Then that is going to then take us up the remaining set of locks, and then end up at Panama City, where we board the bus, and it brings us back to Colon, where the boat will be.
Yep.
So look forward to that. It sounds like that's going to be a really great experience, going through the Panama Canal completely from the Atlantic to the Pacific side, and we'll get a certificate actually saying that, they say. So I thought that was pretty cool. We look forward to it. And thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate you guys out there watching the video. Check out our next video that'll cover the Panama Canal. And thanks for watching. And as always, we will see you on the next video. Thank you.